49er mind is
It's not just a thought process, but a way of life.
49er mind. 49er mind.
Can't shake it. It's 49er mind that I got. It's 49er shine that I got. My psyche's on another Frisco Super Bowl. Don't sit slow, cause here we go with a super show. A red and gold session. I thought I read a gold obsession. With some well-controlled expressions. Let's talk about that win that we got. Who should have been in the spot? That's how they spin in the spot. Let's roll that back, all that crack, all that strip, fumble sack. Or just dial it on up if you wanna talk smack. It don't matter what the storyline, as long as the story aligns with a 49er mind.
49er mind.
It's not just a thought process,
49er mind,
but a way of life. For sure.
49er mind.
Way of life.
49er mind.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Edition with Ballin with Ted, Bash and Ted, actually. We always get that confused. Ballin with Ted and Bash, Ballin with Bash and Ted. Say what you want to say how you want to say. How you doing, Ted?
Good, Bash. Thanks for having me. Happy Thursday.
Yes.
Thanks for accommodating my schedule. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Hey, no big deal, man. You know how we do. There's other shows that are kind of running at the same time here and there, but there's always some Niners show going on around the clock. But for the most part, when I believe you're not going to be available next week, maybe because you might be out of town or something like that. But when things get back up and running, we'll be back going to the Friday time slot. Let me say what's up to Brian Culp. He's waiting in the chat. He says, hit the like button, everyone, on both channels. Share, subscribe, comment, go Niners. Thank you. Yeah, so it's a simulcast on Ted Talks Balls channel and 49er Minded channel. And if you're not subscribed to either or, subscribe both channels and like both channels. Warowski is in the building. He says, let's go. Thank you, Warowski. Good to have you here. Laura's here. Laura Cat says, hola. How's it going, Ted and Bash? Good to have you here, Laura. We ain't leaving you hanging. We're giving you all the clout and all the credit you deserve, so don't worry.
The real originator of Technical Ted, it turns out. Laura Cat, he just finally told me today.
Yeah, whenever I say Technical Ted, she came up with it first.
I've been giving Bash credit all this time, and it was really Laura Cat. So thank you.
There's two sides
and
to Ted.
Thank you, Bash. You know, I learned a bit from Bash.
So on Twitter, the bad boy Ted, Timeline Ted, who fights everybody, and he's the most hated guy on Twitter. Then you have
getting blocked by Lance haters left and right. Flav last night. Nick from Document 49 Pod this morning.
Who? When you say those names, I'm like, who? All right, so we got Beto for Niner Sickness Podcast says, I can't hear you guys. I don't know. Can you guys hear me in the chat? Type yes or no. I don't know if there's an audio problem. And Tommy Huxley, he's talking smack. I don't know about this guy, man.
Always.
The guitar player. Tommy Huxley. You gotta say it like that.
There you go.
Beto says it was me. Okay. So Borowski says he can hear me. Okay, cool. I am pretty loud.
Is Beto breaking up with us? It's not you, it's me, man.
Yeah, Beto has the best equipment, so I don't know how he couldn't hear us. You see his studio, he's got the most badass studio there is out of a 49er content creator, in my honest opinion. I don't know about you. Well, don't you think Beto has the best setup out of the Niner content creators?
I am the best I've seen. Yeah, I mean, and it's clean and just looks so organized. Like I'm on like some old antique desk, and I got the mic, I got a cam, but like Beto's got 2 monitors, he's got the mixing board, he's got 2 laptops. I think he's got the Mac, maybe another PC, 2 Macs. I don't know, man, but it looks like a film studio or something in there, like Mission Control, like. You know, I used to see it in, computer centers, for server centers where you got the computer monitors for all the servers in a server room. That's sort of what it looks like to me, but it looks like Mission Control, brother.
There you
really
go.
Cool stuff.
Okay, so we got some more people on trickling, and let's try to shout out everybody. And if you're a silent viewer, that you're a regular viewer and you've never hopped on the chat before, I know you guys are out there. Hey, jump on the chat and say, hey, this is so-and-so. I'm watching I rep the Niners from whatever city that I'm at. Hey, why not? Say hi. So we got Spider Niner here. Welcome to the channel. He says, hi, Bashar and Ted. I can hear you. He spelled a bastard, but it's all good. Everybody makes that mistake. Niner, you love to hate. What's up? Easy510 says, I'm on lunch break. Listen to you guys. We appreciate you. This is a very unique name right here. I don't know if I should say it. Dick Nasty. Think of Dick Tracy, the movie.
Not too bad.
It says, Rombos are a Super Bowl trophy. Wow. Okay. Rod Cali, what's up, bro? 24/7 says, "What's up, fellas? Keeping the truth." We got a good friend of mine, JD in Sacktown, otherwise known as Hawk Hater TV. How is Darnold going to start over Lance and Purdy's going to start week 1? LOL.
Oh, that Hawk Hater, he's a famous Seattle Seahawks. I've gone at it with him on the timeline before.
I know, no, he's a Niner fan.
Hawk Hater, that's right.
Hawk Hater TV, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
welcome.
If you remember,
Either way, welcome. I mean,
yeah, he had a really good YouTube channel for a while. He's been on YouTube for a long time. Took a break. I don't know if he's coming back, but if he does, we'll welcome him back with open arms. I'd love to have him on the show. Panama Queens here. What up, Panama? So pretty much saying what's up to everybody, and plenty to talk about. Albert Breer is just throwing stuff out there that he thinks that Darnold's going to be QB1, and I think he says he's like, oh, I'm talking to people that are close to the team, and I don't know what sources he has. I don't know where he's getting it from, but I'm not hearing the same sentiments from 49er beat writers who are attending the practices.
Yeah, no. Here's the deal with Albert Breer and the national guys. I mean, they weren't at OTAs. They weren't at minicamp. So either they're fabricating stuff or they've got someone leaking stuff to them. And we know pretty much the Niners don't really leak. I think if they are leaking something, that there's an agenda for it. And so that's why I titled, the name of my show, this show on my channel, like Lance Darnold up for trade, or something like on the trade block or something like that. Because I think if you're, pumping up Sam Darnold, it's because you want to trade him. You don't pump up Sam Darnold to try and trade Lance. That only hurts Trey's value. If you say he's not even better than Sam Darnold, and people will say, well, the Niners always tell the truth. The Niners always tell the truth. But I cited a David Lombardi. You can see it on my timeline, a David Lombardi tweet from last August, where John Lynch was really pumping up Trey Sermon, saying how he had one of the best camps of any player on the team. The next thing you know, the next week, we released him, cut him, whatever you want to call it. He's gone. So they were just trying to pump him up and trade him, get a little something before we let him walk for free. And I think it might be the same with Darnold. I mean, people say like, oh, we signed Darnold day one of free agency, so it must mean that they don't trust Trey Lance. And I'm saying, no, man, we still aren't sure that Purdy will be ready week 1. We certainly weren't right after the surgery. It's looking better and better all the time, it sounds like. But, so we wanted somebody to back up Trey Lance. Trey Lance to be QB1 week 1 if Purdy can't go, Darnold to be QB2. But if it looks like Purdy will be ready, and then you're going to have Lance back up Purdy, then Darnold all of a sudden gets to be expensive at $3.5 to $4.5 million, for this year, and that's without incentives, as a QB3. So I don't know. I mean, no, I haven't really heard anybody float that, and I kind of came up with it last night and tweeted it, and I feel pretty good about that. That makes sense logically to me. So we'll see.
When that report came out, I'm soon after Grant Cohn did that show with his dad. I forgot what they call it, but
the Cohn Zone.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it's Grant Cohn and his dad, Lowell Cohn, and I know a lot of people don't like him, or some people love Grant, some people hate him. To me, Grant's Grant. He's always going to be Grant, and he does what he does. He has a following for a reason. At the same time, he was actually on Twitter Spaces last night. That was. And it was hilarious. I'm not sure if you caught that, but that was the first time I heard Grant Cohn raise his voice at somebody and just flat out own them and make them look stupid. I thought it was
undressing Flav.
I don't even want to say that guy's name, but I thought it was hilarious. His BS in that Twitter space last night. For those who were there,
Flav showed up in my show today in the audience, and he got a comment read for free, probably the first time in his life. So. Maybe he'll be back, but he did block me last night too. So
that person whose name I refuse to say was going on about how nobody wanted to draft Trey Lance, and he was saying that Lynch didn't want Trey Lance, Shanahan didn't want Trey Lance, and it got to the point where Grant Cohn, jumped on the microphone on Spaces, and he really requested a mic on Spaces. He literally got on the mic and started yelling at the guy and said, well, who drafted him then? Then you tell me who drafted him if none of those guys drafted him. And he was like, Jed York. It was just so funny, man. Me talking about doesn't do it justice. I just thought it was a hilarious moment. And it's just, I don't, and I get Purdy's won all these games and So a lot of Niner fans are excited to see him week 1 at be the starter, and I understand that part about it. But to be there still is doubt, obviously, because it's an injury off of throwing shoulder, his throwing arm, right? And there's obviously going to be that doubt. Is he going to be the same player? Is he still going to have the same arm strength? If he lands a certain way, is it going to re-injure, or is it going to bring pain? And we don't know. All this is a mystery. I'm not, and if people are taking it as me hating on him, I'm not hating. I'm just throwing out possible scenarios, possible doubts that tell me he may or not be the same guy when he came back. Some people say, oh, he's going to be better. And it all remains to be seen for me. And it's same with Trey Lance. I mean, I don't know how good or bad he's really going to be. I can assume that he's going to be better because they said he worked on his release. He impressed a lot of people at camp, including George Kittle was pretty vocal about it. Shanahan himself said he looked better. I mentioned Grant Cohn. He was at the practices. Him and Larry Krueger were both saying he looked better.
Even Jack Hammer, who's kind of a Lance
Jack Hammer too? What did Jack Hammer say? I missed that.
Well, everyone who's been there all the days has said the same thing, which is Darnold doesn't have the edge. They said, if anything, it's equal, or more people are basically saying, if anything, Trey Lance has a slight edge. Sterling Bennett is another one who I had on my show who was there every single day from 95.7 The Game, who did some work with Aaron before Aaron took his break here. So, yeah, I mean, everyone who's been there is saying the same thing, even or slight edge to Lance. And then all of a sudden these national guys come in with a totally different narrative. And it just makes me wonder what their agenda is. Also, they're kind of wimping out about it too. They're also saying, oh, but Lance still has time to win it back. So they lift themselves out. It's like a weak take. It's just trying to stir up clicks. It's incendiary and it's working. Real quick, also I wanted to say, Laura Cat was saying, Ted, I like your SF Dubs and Niners lights. I need those. So yeah, you can find them. The Warriors one is on fathead.com. And it's pretty reasonable. The San Francisco one costs about twice as much. If you can't see well from the camera, it's got like a yellow, orange, and white circles around I think it's red and white letters. The neon, but it kind of blurs together on the camera a little bit. That one was about twice as much. Still fairly reasonable. There are a lot, some of them go twice as much as that even. But I would say for the Warriors one, if you want that, I saw one later on Walmart.com that looked brighter, and you can tell the difference. It doesn't have the black edge. It's like a clear, the clearness of the bubble and the flat back. It just blends together clear. And I think it has more lights and is brighter. So it's only a little bit more too. I would probably go with the Walmart one over the Fathead one, just for anyone out there.
And just make sure you don't have a fat head.
No, but I'm fine. Pause.
All right. So we got speaking of the devil, he says himself. You were talking about Sterling Bennett, really awesome, cool guy for 95.7 The Game. He's like a back behind the scenes type of producer guy, but I think he's on Air Talent every now and then as a film. Great guy. He's all over Twitter. Really, really nice guy. He's been on Aaron's show, 49ers First Take podcast. To speak of the devil, he shall appear. And he's right there. There you go. Aaron, we miss you. Hopefully you can see you back sometime soon after you finish your little break on YouTube. That'll be a lot of fun to come back on YouTube. And Bebop is here. Says, what's up, Bash and Ted? Good to have you here, bro. Always good to have you. And
yeah, we miss you, Aaron.
Oh yeah. Yeah, about the whole Trey Lance thing, and a lot of things are just up in the air. That's what it is. And again, the slow part of the offseason. And who knows, maybe next week, some other beat writer, whoever maybe or some national guy, Pat McAfee or whoever else is going to say, hey, I talked to so-and-so, and so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. And it's going to be another headline, and it's going to get all the talking heads talking. It's going to get all the Twitter heads going. And it's just like this every offseason. And you mentioned John and Kyle. Now, like people say, like the 49ers front office doesn't leak things. And for the most part, they may not, but they may not be leaking things, but just some random guy in the organization or some agent may have leaked something outside the organization. That's how it happens. And it's not 100% foolproof that things don't leak out to the media. It's just not. But, they try their best. But at the same time, Kyle and John are also politicians too, just like you mentioned about Trey Sermon. Like, of course, they're not going to show all their cards to the media and say, hey, yeah, guess what? 2 days from now, we're going to cut Trey Sermon, everybody. They're not going to say that, what I mean? So it's like, it's just a game that's being played throughout the NFL ever since I started watching, but way back in the late 80s till now. It hasn't changed. A lot has changed, but certain things have remained the same. and that's pretty much what it is.
I think if it was, basically if they disagreed with it strongly, they would correct it. They would come out and say, which we've seen happen when like Lynch came out and said that he thought Purdy would be ready for training camp. And then Lynch said 6 to 8 months and he corrected it. But I think other things that add to that, deception, the misdirection, he lets them run. The Mac Jones at number 3, the Trey Lance will be traded during the 2023 draft. Kyle lets them run with it and then look like fools after. He loves fooling the media almost as much as he loves fooling the defense.
I mean, if anything, I bet you Kyle and John were laughing hysterically behind closed doors about the whole Mac Jones thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I bet you they very much did, So, I didn't really, every show I say I don't want to touch the quarterback thing. I didn't really touch on it in depth, but we touched on it a little bit, so that was a little part for those people who want us to talk about the quarterbacks. No, where Roski messaged me on Instagram. My guy, I got to get him on the show one of these days. I got to get him on here. Very opinionated, ultimate diehard fan. Used to have a YouTube channel and a great guy in general. He's repping the Niners big in Southern California. And I believe he's a USC fan. He always has something good to say about Darnold. He's optimistic about Sam Darnold on this team. For me, as a signing, yes, I liked it because it gives us depth. Now, I wasn't saying that, hey, if Brock Purdy's hurt, I'm going to say that, oh, yeah, Darnold's better than Lance. And I'm going to see Darnold out there over Lance because a lot of people are going off of this thing really quick about the quarterbacks where it's like this by default, just because this guy has more experience, on-field experience, that he's automatically hella better than Trey Lance or whoever else is behind him just because they don't have as many reps. And in theory, you can make that assumption, but it's not the end all be all at the end of the day.
Not when you led the league in turnovers. And one more quick thing.
Ghosts, or you see
ghosts. Sammy, Sixth Sense Sammy sees specters. So, he sees dead people, ghosts. Real quick, one last thing about the light.
Lawrence C, bro.
There you go.
Love to have you back on the show, talk Niners, and try to do some wrestling stuff. Got to hit you up about that. Says what's happening, fellow faithfuls. Check out his YouTube channel. Go ahead.
There you go. Lawrence Jackson Jr. No, I was just going to say about the lights. Just Google 49ers LED lights or 49ers neon lights or Warriors LED lights, Warriors neon lights, and you'll get a lot of stuff come up and do some shopping, see what looks good for you. Some of the cheap ones actually, I think, are pretty good. As
far as seeing dead people, although this movie I watched recently, if anybody's seen Black Phone, one of my friends told me it hella sucked, but I get it. I appreciate my friends' opinions, but I also want to see things for myself, especially if it's a movie that I was excited to see. Same thing with the players. Some people say certain players suck. Some people say love certain players. But at the end of the day, I want to see on the field what they can do. Therefore, like what Trey Lance has only played 3 or 4 games, people call it a bust. I'm like, hold up, let's see how his career plays out, and then if there's a 3-year window of him playing or whatever, then we can make that judgment. And I have no problem calling Trey Lance a bust if he truly is a bust by by my criteria. And my criteria isn't any different from the average hardcore NFL analyst or NFL fan. It's usually a 3-year window of quarterbacks playing. But long story short, I saw the movie Black Phone, and there's parts in it where the guy gets in contact with dead people. I don't want to spoil it, but it reminded me of you saying I see dead people, whatever, from the Ghost movie in relation to Sam Darnold.
Nice.
Steve-O's Customs here. What's up, Steve-O?
Yeah, Steve-O has does custom sneaks if anybody needs.
Okay, I didn't know that. Is that Steve-O Supremo, same guy?
Yep.
He never said that before.
Yeah, you can see it in his new avatar here and his avatar on Twitter now too.
Okay.
Shows it, and I finally got around to asking him about it in the last couple of days, and he said, yeah, he does custom sneaks. So hit Steve-O in the DMs if you want to find out more about his pricing and what
got
kind of
Grande
stuff.
Biggs. I love the name. Welcome to the channel. Never seen you before, but subscribe to both channels if you're not already. 49 Minded and TED Talks Ball. Jimmy Perez. What's up, bro? Good to see you. Were you going to add something really quick before we jump to the next topic?
No, I mean, jump away. I'm cool with
jump
whatever.
Away. So, obviously, the whole quarterback talk, like I mentioned earlier, it's something that I want to avoid because it's the off season and I need to see stuff on the field for me really to make true judgments and all that. And we all need to see stuff on the field. We need to see Trey playing games and all these, and Brock play, and see where these guys are at. But other than that, I want to talk about defense. So
yeah, it did remind me of one last thing before we shift away. Let me just bring up one thing. I had somebody on the timeline telling me that Josh Allen, that Brock Purdy is better than Josh Allen, And because Brock Purdy won 2 playoff games, is 2-0 in the playoffs, and Josh Allen's 4-4. So I got tired of arguing with the person, and I finally did a poll. And, of course, Josh Allen won 3-1, and that's with mostly Niner fans voting. So it would have been a total landslide if it had been Bills fans or a more neutral NFL crowd. But ultimately, somebody asked me, like, how do you define, who's a better quarterback, right? If you're not going off QB wins or not just off pure stats or whatever, how do you do it? And I just said, like, do they get carried by their team, like Jimmy G? And to a lesser extent, no offense, Brock Purdy gets carried a little bit by the best weapons in the league, Kyle, a solid O-line, and the number 1 D. If Jimmy got carried a lot, Brock Purdy gets carried a little bit less, So he definitely does more for us and helps to carry us more. But like somebody like Josh Allen fully carries that team, where a lot of the games, like Josh Allen's the leading rusher on that team. And he throws bombs, and the guy he trucks people, and he's just, to even compare them, I think, is ridiculous. And so it just shows that there are some people, I was on with Terradome today, and he said, some people watch, and some people watch intently, and some people are students of the game, and then some people are like stewards of the game, where you're getting really high level. But then there's like some people that are just box score scouts, and they're I'm sorry.
Those elite guys, if they were on this Niner team, we'd rack up more trophies than anybody in the damn league.
Exactly. I was saying we would have won at least.
The Steelers would be on the back page.
Yeah, I was saying we would have won at least 2 Super Bowls with Josh Allen. I'm saying 21-22 for sure. Super Bowl wins with Josh Allen, and 2019 is a little more dubious.
Herbert.
Yeah, Justin Herbert too. 2019 is a little more dubious for Josh Allen because like he came in 2018. He was, I'm not gonna say bad, but kind of like Lance, like low 50s completion percentage and that kind of thing. Then he got up to like 60 and then 65 in 2020. So 2019, I think he was still better than Jimmy G. I think we would have won the Super Bowl, but that's one where I'm not gonna say like we would have won for sure 3 Super Bowls with Josh Allen. I'm saying at least 2.
Okay. All right, so let me see. I don't know if I said what's up to Brian Culp. Faithful viewer, I said what's up to when he first got in, actually. Just please subscribe, share, comment. Appreciate you, Brian. Check out Brian Culp's YouTube channel. He does some stuff on Saturday mornings, I believe, is when he does his YouTube.
And Sunday mornings.
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm asleep or I'm going to church. It's hard for me to catch it live, but every now and then on Saturday, I'll try to do it. Niner Sickness is saying Lance will never be Allen. I don't think he said that, but, he does have elite traits and elite characteristics where he could possibly be a borderline elite quarterback. So I don't see it out of the realm of possibility.
He'll never be Allen physically, but because Allen's, taller and bigger.
Allen's huge.
Stronger. He's a monster. But Trey Lance could be a better quarterback. I mean, Josh Allen struggled with turnovers, with interceptions last year. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's likely, but it's possible. I'm not going to say anything about where Trey Lance's ceiling is. I mean, it's in that range, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Potential ceiling. That is potential.
Again, I said it like I said earlier. I want to wait and see who this guy really is. We all know the elite traits. We know what he has, what he brings to the table. Some people question his accuracy. Some people question whatever about him. They may say he's injury prone. I just want to see what we have in him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially with the big investment we made. JG six play out. Right? That's OG says Flav loves Jimmy. He's officially a Raider fan. Oh my gosh.
Ryan from No Border Sports had a good nickname for him. He calls him Puddles because Flav's about as deep as a puddle.
Okay. Bayer Baller 18 is here. I'd love to see this guy in the chat.
Price.
Really cool guy. They have him on the Kruger Show sometimes. Check out his channel. Awesome dude. Had him on here multiple times. I just love collabing with him. He just brings that ball of fire. I feel like I'm talking to an ESPN or NFL Network analyst with a certain tone of voice that he has. I've told him about this little tone of voice that he has, and it just matches sports a lot, in my opinion. And maybe I'm overhyping the guy, but to me, that's just my opinion.
No, he's great. And he doesn't just do football. He does, he does a lot of Warriors, baseball, a lot of
Giants. Yep. JG638, what's up, bro? It says bottom line is Trey can make all the throws. All he needs is reps. I like what Brock did, but he can't make all the throws. Ayuk has been begging for the deep ball. We'll see. Danny Gray, Ayuk, Debo can go deep every now and then. So somebody has to bring the element of the deep ball to his offense. If it's not going to be Trey, I hope it's Brock, but I don't think, again, he's not naturally built as a deep ball thrower. So who knows? People make it sound like Brock's going to elevate his game and be Drew Brees. I'm never going to say that until I see it. So, and I think it's only fair to say it when you actually see it. So let's jump to the topic about defenses because I want to give the defense some love. I played offensive line. I love offensive line. I love scoring points. But my first, I've always had a defense in my heart as well. Just the whole hard nose, old school smash mouth aspect of defense, sacking the quarterback, pass rush, all that I love so much. When I first started watching the game, Lawrence Taylor was this huge, famous linebacker who'd rush from the pseudo linebacker / defensive end spot. And I was really, really excited to see that, even though he's a New York Giant. But at the same time, we also had Charles Haley, and that really pumped me up and psyched me up. And then I played some D tackle my first year playing football. Later on, I graduated and became an offensive lineman, which is fine. It's very important to have a good offensive lineman, score points. But let's talk about the defenses really quick in terms of nostalgia. All-time 49er, all-time defenses. Like, is there a favorite defense of yours in terms of the year of that defense and which players they had? And is there a defense that stands out from a particular season that you wanted to talk about or that gives you good memories?
I mean, wow. So you're giving me first pick in the draft of the 49ers defensive draft here, I guess.
Because I was gonna do that too. If you want to start right away, because I was gonna do the whole thing where we run a 4-3 defense and you pick from position to position.
Oh, no. I meant the year of the defense.
Oh, the year of the defense. Okay, so go ahead and do that then.
Yeah, because it sounded like that's what you were asking. I would go with 1984.
Okay. The year we won the Super Bowl against Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm.
Against Dan Marino, arguably one of the most talented quarterbacks ever to play. That defense was phenomenal. It was before we had Jerry Rice. We had Roger Craig, but he wasn't doing Roger Craig things yet. Then I think he was still playing
Tyler. He was used to spending time with Wendell Tyler.
And playing more fullback, I think, even.
True, he was a fullback when we first had him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, that 1984 defense is probably number one in my books. How about you?
And unfortunately, I was still in elementary school at the time, and I was literally just hearing about the 49ers through this guy I carpool with, and his mom would talk about the 49ers because she was a student at Sierra College. And, so this is before I lived in the Bay Area. Then I eventually came back to the Sacramento area after that. And she was just talking about how she saw Dwight Clark practicing. She saw Joe Montana and all these players. So I was just at that point in time trying to figure out who the 49ers were because nobody in my family knew what football was. So I caught on later. So unfortunately, when that Super Bowl was being played, there were points in times where I saw the game on TV. I walked by the TV and I saw it, but I didn't understand the game. I didn't know anything. I knew nothing about football back then. So unfortunately, I was live, but I wasn't able to sit and enjoy that wonderful team we had. And luckily, you were a bit older than me, and you were able to sit down and watch that team. I'm sure I would have had a great time watching it. I actually finally watched that Super Bowl on YouTube against the Miami Dolphins with that amazing defense. So it wasn't because before that, I only saw some NFL film stuff. I couldn't find the actual game. So it was cool to actually finally watch the game, and the game was actually played in Palo Alto at Stanford Stadium.
That's right. It was the closest thing to a home Super Bowl prior to the Bucs winning in Tampa Bay and after the 2020 season.
And excellent point by JG638. Says Ronnie Lott, Eric Wright, Carlton Williamson, and Dwight Hicks. 1984 defense. The entire secondary did go to the Pro Bowl. That's exactly true. I actually have I didn't really get to watch Dwight Hicks play in his playing days. I heard a lot about him, but I do have an autographed photo of him, and he's a great guy. So I did meet Ronnie Lott, got his autograph. Really, really cool guy. Met Eric Wright on 2 occasions, actually. Once when I was in high school, and recently last year I met him, took a picture with him at this 49er meet and greet that we had. And Carlton Williamson's up there too. So I didn't watch the guy, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. But yeah, I just love defenses. I just love watching these old school defenses play. From those that era though, the great 49er teams, are there any like defensive plays that stand out in memory, like great defensive plays?
I think it was I'm blanking on the linebacker who stuffed
Danny Buns.
Thank you. And
I used to go to a sports bar in
Cincinnati Bengals on the goal line. It must have been in 1982.
I forgot who we stuffed though. Some running back on the Bengals whose name I don't know.
I think it was before Icky Woods.
Oh, it was way before Icky Woods.
That was 99 or 89.
Mm-hmm.
Or 88.
I could look it up.
Yeah, the Broncos were in 89.
Yeah.
when we just boat raced them. No, it was 88. It was Icky Woods and the Icky Shuffle, and 81 was Dan Buns, and the back. Yeah, I'm gonna have to let you.
We'd have to look that one up, or somebody in the chat can help us out.
I'm
But,
sure I'll be like, oh yeah. But
did you
he's
watch
not-
did you watch that Super Bowl live? I'm assuming.
Yeah. I
Which
watched
one?
all the Super Bowls live. I went to
Mhm.
all the parades.
Cool.
Along with millions of other people. So it was pretty crazy. And JG threw out those guys from the 1984 all going to the Pro Bowl. 3 of them were drafted in 1981 too, including Ronnie Lott. And that was when things really started to turn around for us. Was getting that secondary in order in 1981. So
John McVay was the GM back then, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was a GM for all 5 Super Bowls. But I know Bill Walsh had his hands on certain picks as well. I just don't know how much say Walsh had, and how much say McVay or input McVay had as well. And we all know that he's related to the guy that coaches the Rams. I believe it's his uncle or something like that.
Yep.
But he was great for us though. He was excellent in our front office. And actually, all 5 of those Super Bowl years, they practiced at Sierra College over in Rockland. So
Rockland.
Yep. I wish I could have attended one of those practices. That would have been fun.
I never got to myself either. Rockland was a lot different back then, though.
Oh yeah, it sure was. And any other defensive plays that stand out? Because the Danny Buns one is going way back.
It is.
Any great defensive plays throughout your fanhood?
Gosh, I don't know. There were so many. Merton Hanks' interception in the NFC Championship game in 1994 against the Cowboys, doing the funky chicken dance. That one really, is memorable to me. I think Dion got at least one in there too in that game. So what a difference he made in that night. And so that's maybe my second favorite Niners defense would be the 1994 Niners defense when we signed Dion not quite halfway through the season.
That was one of the funnest defenses to watch.
Yeah.
They have not been the most dominant, but they were fun. Dion just brought this element, and then Merton Hanks already was doing that chicken dancer, and I've done this a few times on the show already, and it was always my favorite when John Madden was covering a 49er game, and Merton Hanks would get an interception or fumble recovery or make a big play, and then he'd do that, and John Madden would go, "Hey, look, it's Merton Hanks. He's doing the Big Bird dance." Boom. Tough acting to acting. That's my really bad John Madden impersonation.
I love it.
JG says Rockland and Stockton training camps were always hot. Yeah, I could only imagine because I live very close to Rockland. It's super hot over here. It's gonna be triple digits this weekend, and I can only imagine wearing pads and a helmet practicing in that type of weather.
It's like it's been cold all like May and June, except for maybe one Saturday. I remember it was nice. Now all of a sudden, here it comes, heat wave this weekend. So stay cool, everybody. Stay hydrated. Drink your water.
I don't want to hear any bad stories from anybody. So take care of yourselves. Also, if you're in the Sacramento area, avoid the rivers. Do not swim. I've plenty of terrible stories of people drowning, and I just hate turning on the news. It's always some tragic story that I have to hear and listen to, but just a part of life, unfortunately. But just be careful if you're out there.
Yeah, be careful if you're drinking.
Exactly. But yeah, I could talk about some of my favorite Niner defenses and plays that stood out. The funnest one, obviously, again, I'll say it again, it was that Tim McDonald, Deion Sanders. That defense was just a lot of fun. We're talking about a big play that stood out. Against the Cowboys, the NFC Championship game, Eric Davis gets a pick 6. It might have been on I know it was on the first series. I'm not sure if it was the first play, but Aikman got picked off big time by Eric Davis. Eric Davis just took it to the house. And that was
underrated as a corner.
He was, and you know what? He wasn't good right away.
Mm-hmm.
He sucked right away. And in today's era of Niner fans, who knows if Eric Davis would have even lasted on the team long enough with the backlash he would have gotten. Maybe the coaches don't listen to that stuff, but maybe it would have gotten in Eric Davis's head for all I know. And maybe, it may have messed with him, but he was not good. He used to get burnt a lot when we first got him. I remember vividly, like it was yesterday, all the crap that Eric Davis got from certain fans, but it just would have been magnified had Twitter existed back then. But I love the way he just turned his career around, and he left us for a bigger contract, and he got his money, and all those great plays that he made got him more money, and he ended up still being a good player. So hats off to him, man.
There you go.
And Sivo says Vernon Hanks used to do that for his son because his son liked Sesame Street and he liked Bert and Ernie. Okay, cool. Yeah, I remember he did say it was from Bert and Ernie. Bert would do the pigeon dance or whatever like that. Yeah, I was actually at a Niner game once in Candlestick, and there was a certain entrance to the side of the stadium, and you could go through this elevator. My brother had this special entry pass for it. I don't know how he got it, but I had a lot of fun going to the games with my brother back in the day. Rest his soul. My brother was awesome.
Instead of the escalators.
Yeah. So you walk in, right, and then it would take you up to this elevator to the platform. So one time we went up there. I met Parag Marathe going through that elevator. Another time, Merton Hanks and his wife were like 5 feet away from me, but I almost felt like I didn't want to intrude their personal space because it kind of looked like they were talking to each other. You know what I mean? And you know how it is if you ever met celebrities or seen athletes in person before. It's kind of there's a finesse behind it. You don't want to sit there and bother them and badger them and be the fan that brings out his camera and like, hey, let's take a selfie. And you don't want to be that rude, annoying fan, you know?
Did they even have good selfie cameras back then?
Well, it was they were just coming out, so
yeah, I guess iPhones have been out.
It was 2012. It was 2012.
Yeah, so yeah, a few years.
They were just on the surface. Not everybody had one in their pocket as much as they do now, but they were there. And JG says, yeah, Edie got Bert's lot. He did. He definitely did. But hey, he turned it around, right? He turned it around and he belonged when he was on the Niners and he helped us win the Super Bowl. So definitely got to thank him for his good play. And so we could I could talk about some other plays. I remember when we played. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. That's a shout out to my brother. Rest in peace. My brother's name is Fadi. So I had season tickets to my brother. We had a lot of fun going to the games and hanging out at the tailgates and all that. A lot of great memories. So pretty awesome. Condolences. Thank you. But as far as the Niners, I mean, one amazing defense, in my opinion, that it's unfortunate because it was the year that we were supposed to three-peat. You probably remember this. Charles Haley was defense. I was talking about Lawrence Taylor earlier, but I was like, well, we had Charles Haley, right? Now, I wouldn't say he was as good as Lawrence Taylor, but he had his moments.
He was dominant.
And that 1990 season, Charles Haley was Defensive Player of the Year, and he was just getting to the quarterback, killing QBs. The memorable game that stood out to me was a Monday night game against the New York Giants. And I just remember Charles Haley. I think he had a really nice big hand on Phil Simms that game. And another play that stood out, I remember Ronnie Lott was just he just stuck the shit out of Mark Bavaro, the tight end for the Giants. Not sure if you remember that game. It was a very close, tight defensive game where Montana even kind of struggled in that game. Actually,
it's amazing. I mean, when you say Mark Bavaro, I just I have an orthopedic surgeon as a near relative in my family, and I heard stories. He's friends with the trainer from the Giants, and we stayed with them back east sometimes. And he was saying that Mark Bavaro's knee was basically like bone on bone, and they shot him up for every game, and he couldn't practice. And I'm sure he's having real issues with it. He probably has a total knee. I probably had it a long time ago, to be honest. It was so long ago, but pretty amazing story about Mark Bavaro. And, he game day, it was hard to tell. The guy was super dominant, great tight end for the New York Giants, no doubt about it. Catching from Phil Simms, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mark Bavaro was really, really built. He was hard to bring down. Kind of like now, if you guys remember George Kittle in that Saints game, like Mark Bavaro used to carry and drag defenders. It was pretty scary at times. Like there were times where nobody could bring the guy down. And Kittle kind of did a nice Mark Bavaro impersonation against the Saints at one time. So that was a lot of fun. Now, if you were to draft a defense, we could start with let's start in the trenches. Because I'd say we could run it as a 4-3. And who would your two defensive linemen be, your D tackles? And who would your two defensive ends be? That's an all-time defense for the 49ers.
Okay. All-time. I'm just going to stay away from this team just to make it more interesting.
Well, so you could draft your own player at each position is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but I'm just going to stay away from the current team because Bosa would definitely be my DN.
Got it.
But I'm going to go further back just to be more nostalgic. I think you've named some of them here. I mean, I think
you can always rename them.
Well, for DNs, why am I blanking on his name? You just mentioned him along with Lawrence Taylor.
Haley?
Charles Haley, thank you.
Number 94.
He was pretty darn dominant. And to go a little bit further back from Bosa, I'd put Aldon Smith on the other side.
Yeah, those are the two guys I had in mind, actually, because Alden Smith, man, it's a sad career, but he had a certain period of time where he could have destroyed the record books.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we drafted him, I was like, who's this guy? Because there were a few other pass rushers. I remember Robert Quinn was one of the pass rushers that I wanted. And when they drafted Alden Smith, I was like, who's this guy? Then I watched some of his film. I was like, okay, he looks pretty good on tape. I'm going to give him a shot. Let me see what he's made of. And
I was like, Missouri? Who goes to Missouri?
Yeah, right off the bat, he was a beast. And then, unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable. He was next to Justin Smith, who was awesome, but just did not. We all know why it didn't work out, and we're not going to get into that. But John V is here from the Locker Room Rant. Good to have you here, bro. Ran into him yesterday on Twitter Spaces. We're just spectators of that whole Twitter spectacle. The Vornado, as you say, right? Vornoops. From the Locker. Check out his YouTube channel, right? By the way, search up the Locker Room Rant. John V's a Niner fan, and it's with his best friends that he grew up with over in Ohio. One's a Buffalo Bills fan, one's a Cleveland Browns fan. They're always at each other's throats and yelling and cussing each other, and they cover all the sports, and it's a lot of fun. And it's definitely check them out, subscribe to them, give them a subscribe. Steve O Custom said Patrick Wills with Fred Warner and Bosa with Aldon Smith will be a quick QB's nightmare. I totally agree. Okay, so you got the two DNs down. Who are your two D tackles on your 49ers all-time defense?
I'm going to claim ignorance here because I was younger back in 1981 and not, I don't know. You start paying attention to quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running backs first. But was Fred Dean a D tackle or was he more of a DN himself?
DN. He was a sack guy. He went after the quarterback.
So he'd be right there with those. I mean, that'd be my, my swing defensive end would be Fred Dean. So if I'm going D tackle, I'd probably have to go Bryant Young, number one. And Damon Stubblefield's up there. If you're going for longevity, I'd go Stubblefield, but just for shining brightly, I would say the other Smith brother, Justin Smith, along with Bryant Young. If it's just playing for one season, one game, whatever, just who shined the brightest. Mm-hmm. I think Justin Smith was a little bit more crucial than Dana Stubblefield.
Yeah. And Justin Smith didn't always make the huge, big like highlight plays, but he occupied a lot of blockers and he made it really, really tough for that opposing offensive line. Beto from Niner Sickness Podcast says the Lambs are signing Ahkello Witherspoon. LOL, Brandon Ayuk will have fun with him. Yeah, you know what? I forgot to bring that up earlier. That was a headline. Mainly one of the reasons why I forgot about it is this Ahkello Witherspoon is nothing to me, but one of our former, I believe it was his former second round draft pick. He was from the Sacramento area. It's kind of funny story that before the 49ers played the Minnesota Vikings in that playoff game in 2019, I was at a sports bar and in Sacramento actually, and Joey Mahoney was with me, and a family walked by us, and I noticed a few of them were wearing Ahkello Witherspoon jerseys, and one of them was a younger kid, maybe he was 12, 11, and he had his hair exactly like Ahkello Witherspoon. I don't know if it was his little brother. I don't know who it was in his relation to it, but I literally just stopped. I was like, "Hey, are you guys related to Ahkello Witherspoon?" Like, yeah, we are. Because okay, cool. This is before the game started. Now we all know what happened to Ahkello Witherspoon in that Minnesota Vikings game that we won because he was getting roasted and toasted, and eventually made his way to the bench. They pretty much told him, "Sit your ass down. Your ass is getting burnt." And I believe Mosley stepped in and did a good job. And
then Mosley got a pick in the NFC Championship game too. He
did too. Mosley, and I doubted Mosley for a while when we first got him. I didn't think he was going to be much of a contributor, undrafted guy and journeyman type of guy. But he stepped in and did good things for us. And he actually had a really, really nice season last year. And it would have been nice to have him in the playoffs too, man. But it is what it is. He got hurt and he got his contract and went to Detroit. That's that.
While we're talking about Mosley, mind if I stop you real quick? I'd just say, it's kind of come up, I think, before, but stop me if you heard me say this. But basically, like, he was our basically only big guy we were missing last year starting the playoffs. Like, if you are, I just feel like chances of us being as healthy for the 2023 playoffs as we were for 2022 are pretty slim because Mosley was our only big name out other than quarterbacks. And Lenore obviously did a very good job filling in for him, especially by that point. Not so much earlier in the season, but later in the season. And in the playoffs, a lot of people would even say Lenore was better than Charvarius Ward in the playoffs because he got cooked against the Seahawks and DK Metcalf. So, and obviously Purdy, I think most people feel like was our best quarterback in 2022. So if he had stayed healthy, you're not really going to miss the other quarterbacks. So, obviously the NFC Championship game changed everything. But leading into that, it's hard to imagine us being much healthier in 2023 than we were in 2022, especially knowing that we're minus 20 rest days on the season. And some teams are as much as plus 12.
So Spider Niner says Witherspoon would always upset me. I liked him at one point when he was starting the 2019 season. In the beginning of the season, our defense was amazing that year, and the secondary was playing amazing that year. So Witherspoon was a part of that, and then he just started to fall off. So,
did he get a pick six against the Bucks?
I think he did. Yeah, he looked good in the beginning of the season. Then he just
I think we got two.
fell off. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing about Witherspoon was he always had good position, but he rarely turned his head to locate the ball.
Spider Niner says right there.
Yeah, never turned a damn head. Yeah, exactly.
I got to see that Spider-Verse movie. It hurts pretty good, and especially if you see it in 4DX or 4XD, if I'm getting that confused. Sorry, 4DX. And it hurts a good movie, so I definitely got to check that out. And anyways, earlier we were talking about Danny Buns at the goal line stand in the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl that they won. And the running back was Charles Alexander. So somebody I never really was familiar with.
I would never. I was gonna say I didn't think it was a household name, and that's really not a household name.
And I'm barely remembering the quarterback for the Bengals that year too.
Kenny Anderson.
Kenny Anderson. There you go.
That I remember.
And I think Bill Walsh may have coached him at one point before he became the Niners.
Could be because Walsh was there in 71. That's a long time. I don't know that he would be there 10 years.
I thought I read that. I could be wrong about that.
Maybe.
It's before my time when I was actually watching football. Yeah. So it's just funny. Yeah. So back to drafting your Niner defense. We have the whole D line figured out.
Right? Collinsworth was in both Super Bowls.
Yep, he was. Collinsworth. Oh my gosh, I can't stand it.
PFF, Mr. PFF.
Oh my gosh. PFF will say some good things from time to time. I just don't like it when people hold PFF up as gospel because, like, who was it? Eric Reed tweeted out, former Niner player. He tweeted out something about PFF. Did you see that today?
I don't know, but Jack Hammer tweeted out PFF when this is a good segue where Ryan Hensley had tweeted out that Purdy had an 78% completion percentage when he was throwing to CMC or Kittle. And everyone else, when he was throwing to them on the team, he had a 58% completion percentage. And a lot of Lance haters want to discount the impact that CMC and Kittle have.
I remember that.
But if you look at that, and he's throwing only 3% higher than what Lance's, completion percentage is, and those guys, they do stuff when they're on the field, even if you don't target them. So anyway, and so Jack saw it, and he threw out some PFF stat to try and discount the raw stats of completion percentage, and it was just, and he said that it was wildly inaccurate or something, basically calling me a liar. And I'm like, I got it from Ryan, and he's like, well, do your own homework. I'm like, look, dude, I trust Ryan Hensley until I have a reason not to trust him.
Everybody gets their homework from a particular source, though. It's not like he's just making up rules on the fly. He's making up rules on the fly, is what he's doing.
He is, and he's just saying things to try, and then he's like. Then he goes off and he says something about and Lance threw an interception targeting George Kittle against the Texans. I'm like, I don't care. He had a 124 passer rating when Kittle was in the huddle. And Purdy's passer rating is 107. This is a small sample size, most of it against the Texans, so it's inflated. But it's arguable point that, we don't know what Lance is with CMC, and we barely know what he is with Kittle, and we definitely don't know with the two of them, or when the team isn't struggling most of the time that he played. So anyway,
I thought I was making a wild guess about this, but apparently I was right. Kenny Anderson was coached by Bill Walsh at one point in time. And put B Cook. I don't know what the B stands for. Is it Brian or Bob or Bill or
I don't know about this Cook guy either.
I think the Cook guy is the reason why Walsh tried to implement the West Coast offense
Oh,
was hearing something.
1971. Maybe that
I
was
think
the
I was
one.
hearing something. Yeah, I think he
No,
said
it's Kelts posted that.
yeah, I was
document.
hearing that well, yeah, because the guy was mobile, but he didn't have a strong arm. He kind of
Right.
no arm, so they kind of had to put the workhorse
1971
on.
Cincinnati.
Yeah. So OG says, or JG638 as he goes by on here says, Trey haters equal Jimmy lovers the same. Yeah, that we talked about the quarterback stuff earlier. There's all we're still not done with the defense section.
They're just butthurt because we were mean to Jimmy, so now they're going to be mean to Lance, even when it doesn't make sense.
That's the stance that they have. Like, how do you want to talk about this? We spent hours and days and talk about all kinds of stuff. Why we have to move on for Jimmy? It's like the grass, like Purdy's their saving grace for them to boot, to hate, to say that we don't need Trey and whatever. And it's like
still no reason to get rid of him.
Jimmy's still not. It still doesn't back your argument. You said Jimmy was hella good and we didn't need to bring in any new quarterbacks. So your argument was that we needed to keep Jimmy this whole time. Well, guess what? He's not in here. He's not here anymore.
Yeah.
So,
go to the Raiders
right the whole fucking time. Okay.
Go to the Raiders. Also, Bash, just so you know, I think I DM'd you before the show, but like, we don't have to rush too much today because my usual 4:15 for Thursday.
Okay, good, cool. We have time to finish out the defense.
So if we bounce back to QB a few times, not the end of the world, I don't think. I know we don't want to.
We're heading towards the hour mark, but if we can go a little bit over, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So, and I can catch up on the comments a little bit more too. So,
yeah.
And I'll be doing that right now. Okay. Oh, so JG638 says, I bet Dan Buns when I was 10. The Brig was a quarterback. So Danny Buns, I believe when he retired, he was a high school teacher at one point over in the Sacramento area. And then he owned Buns. He had a sports bar called Buns and Company, I think. And I actually went to that sports bar a few times when I moved out here. And it closed down about 2 years after I think I moved down here, unfortunately. And it was a really, really fun place to go to. Really cool sports bar. And by the time I checked it out, he had already sold it off to somebody else. But it was cool. It was cool to go there. Just the fact that it used to be owned by a former 49er that won a Super Bowl, and his name was still on the on the logo for the company.
So I'll do some math on JG's thing there. He says he was 10. DeBerg was the QB.
You're trying to age him?
Well, let's see, because Plunkett was the QB in 76 when I first became a Niners fan. So DeBerg was like 77, 78. So I'm guessing, and 79 and 80. I'm going to guess JG then is 1968 or 69 birth year.
Neither deny or confirm. So, yeah. We'll so it was Brian Cook. That's who the quarterback was. Thank you.
So he's a little older than me then, I think.
Yeah. So you guys are somewhere in the same age range. There you go. So
yeah, I'm 52. So.
Yeah, he might be a little older than you. But hey, both of you guys are young at heart. You guys have great football memories and great football minds, and I don't see any signs of aging anytime soon. So good to know. And so let's get back to the defense really quick because we got the linebackers. We covered the D line. So you said Brian. I believe you said Bryant Young, Justin Smith, Charles Haley, and who was the other defensive? Alden Smith, right?
Alden Smith, Fred Dean, Stubby.
Okay. Well,
I kind of did 6. I kind of did 3, 2 plus the swing tackle, and
that's fine. So if you want to do a little swing guy here and there, certain positions,
or honorable mention, whatever.
You're more than welcome. That's fine. Yeah. So we got the linebackers. We can go with 3, and if you have any honorable mention / swing guys that you want to throw in the mix, go right ahead.
For linebacker?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think you got to go P. Willie and Navarro Bowman.
You got Patrick Willis. You got to go with P. Willie.
I get him in the Hall of Fame. And for a little while, Navarro was playing better than him.
Yeah, Navarro was giving Willis a run for his money at one point in time.
Yeah. And then, obviously I love Fred and Dre a lot, but I said I was going to stay away from current players.
But why not pick a current player, though, if you really think they're deserving of the title?
I mean, all right, so I would go Fred as my real alternate, but I want to throw in Jack Hacksaw Reynolds in there. Just
okay.
Because of the cool name, because he saw 64. The car apart with a hacksaw. The dude was just... He wasn't that great, but he was just a great story.
I remember when we had Matt Millen for a while.
Yeah, Matt Millen was
a really good run stuffer. And it was Hacksaw Reynolds basically the same type of player as Matt Millen, or was Hacksaw Reynolds a little bit better?
I think Matt Millen was better.
Oh, okay, because I love watching Matt Millen tonight. Even though he was a former Raider, he was really a lot of fun. He was a lot of fun.
Really good. I mean, another one just to throw in. I mean, he was so brief, I wouldn't really count him in there. But I just loved, I was so mad at the Cowboys because they got Charles Haley. And so getting Kenny Norton, for that 94 Super Bowl win, that took some of the sting out of losing Charles Haley. He wasn't here very long, and he wasn't like at his peak powers anymore. And I hate him now that he's a Seahawks coach. But, right then, it was a good story, a good feel-good story for me, Ken Norton. And, former boxer. Or his dad was, I forget. I think his
remember
dad
whenever he'd get like make some big play, if he got like a pick six or
he would come out and do that.
Yeah, he started punching the goal, the goalpost punching back. Ken Norton. Ken Norton was a lot of fun to watch. Now he wasn't as good as Bowman and Willis, but he was right below them, you could say, because he was right below them.
He was good.
And even a point in time when Ken Norton Jr. was playing, we had a nice trio, man, with that 95 winning Super Bowl team, or 94-95 team. With, Ken Norton Jr., Gary Plummer, Lee Woodall, and all three of them were different. And Gary Plummer was almost like a Matt Millen type of guy.
Yeah, and Hacksaw Reynolds
with a bit more athleticism, though.
Yeah, former Charger, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This guy right here, he says, all of them was going to be my favorite. Charles Haley, Fred Dean. It's a tie. Pass rush, pass rush, pass rush. I can just keep saying it all day. How important, how much I appreciate watching a great pass rush. It's just
wait a minute, Bash. Nobody picked D Ford.
In the chat. Wow, why you're making a joke? D Ford was a lot of fun to watch when he first came on the Niners. Man,
he unlocked. He was great when that. He would go in first, make the QB step up, and then Bosa would come in, make him step up again, right into Defoe and Armstead. It was a great setup that we had for a little while there in 2018 or 2019.
So explosive off that line, man. When he was healthy, man.
We were on our way to being a historic defense before a lot of our D line depth got injured. But yeah, obviously, the funny thing is, Michelle Rebel or Melissa Rebel, sorry, was saying today that I was like, God, are we still paying him this year and in 2024? And she's like, no. Just 2023. This is the last year on the book. I think it's $7 or $8 million, but it's the final year of paying D Ford because we, spread it out to defer the costs a little bit.
And John V says the wave of pass rush in 2021 is unmatched. I'm not sure what it means. The waves of pass rush. If you want to elaborate on that, go right ahead. JG638 says I got D Ford in a wheelchair.
Oh man, that's harsh.
Harsh. You know what?
We can't joke too much about injuries, man.
I believe you're talking about Charles Haley, or are you talking about Ken Norton Jr.? But I hated how Lee mentioned earlier, and oh my gosh, why in the world did this 49er team trade? If you're gonna trade Charles Haley, and I get it, there was some crazy stuff that Charles Haley did. Most of what we don't even know that he did. But it had to have been pretty damn batshit crazy for them to go out of their way to trade the guy, Hall of Fame player, to just trade. And if you're going to trade him, be smart about it.
He was undiagnosed bipolar. We know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we even had a team psychologist, Dr. Harry Edwards, always roaming the sidelines. And I figured he'd help him. And I guess it was just an unfixable problem for the 49ers at the time. And
it can be tough to find the right medication. There's different kinds of bipolar too. There's one where you go through big mood swings, big time depressions. And then there's one where it's more mania, where you're just kind of like up. And, so they didn't know as much about it back then, nearly as much, or how to treat it or how to diagnose it. A lot of times it was misdiagnosed as other things. A lot of times people used chemicals to, self-medicate, alcohol, weed, whatever else to, get themselves into a good mental state. But then, when the chemicals wear off, then they're worse off. And so it's a tough cycle to be in. And obviously addiction's terrible, just like we saw with Alden Smith. Different thing.
What's up, Kenny? Good to have you here, man. Since we got the number one defense, baby. You're a little late because we started talking about defense maybe 40 minutes ago or whatever. We're still talking about it, but we're not done with it though. JG638 says Haley was causing problems in the locker room. Yeah, he must
He
have done
peed
some
on
crazy-
someone's car. I think it
Yeah,
was
supposedly he
Seifert.
took a piss on Steve Young's car, was what
They
I
jumped
heard.
on it. And,
I heard that. I
threatened
heard
Steve
that,
Young's
yeah.
life, I think, too.
And he's saying he took a shit on Seifert's car and desk. I don't know about that one, but
I thought it was
then again,
a piss. But yeah,
then again, this was before Twitter. This is before social media, so there's probably a lot of crazier stuff that he did that was even worse that we didn't even know about. But my problem is this: you trade him to the fucking NFC, and then it's like the Cowboys. They had an embarrassment of riches of draft picks from that stupid Minnesota Vikings trade, the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah,
the Minnesota Vikings just basically birthed their whole dynasty with all those picks, and it's just such a lopsided trade. And then here we are giving them, with their defense needs, this amazing pass rusher. Like trade Charles Haley to the freaking Browns or to the AFC or something, to some irrelevant AFC team that we don't have to worry about. And here comes the Cowboys beating our ass in 2 NFC championship games.
Yeah, 3 out of 4, right? So 92, 93, and 95.
And I actually met Charles Haley, and I got to take a picture with him. He signed my hat. Really cool guy. At least he was cool when I met. I heard mixed reviews about others that met him, but hey, he was cool with me. And he says, I noticed a lot. This is John V. I noticed a lot of the bipolar disorder with the handling of Trey Lance. Oh, with the team? Oh, yeah. That's a whole another topic. Grant Cohn's covered that a lot. And we covered the Trey Lance thing a little bit in the beginning, but I didn't get that in depth with it. And he said, JG638 says Haley wiped his behind and threw his crab stained toilet paper at 49ers coach John Marshall. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, the myth, the man, I can't even say it straight. I'm laughing.
It's all similar.
The man, the myth, the legend.
I mean,
yeah.
But I missed him too.
Laura said, "Real talk about mental health." Ted, thank you, Ted, for that. We appreciate it, Laura. Yeah. So yeah, mental health's a thing. It's an issue, and that was at that time it was kind of like the first time I heard it in regards to pro sports, and obviously it was without a doubt was the first time that I ever heard it in regards to a team that I had followed heavily too. So I remember they were saying manic depressive, and this is at the time that I didn't even know what manic depressive
That's what they used
was.
to call it. Yeah,
they used to say manic depressive, and I had to look it up because I wasn't really sure what it was back then. But people do have their issues, and mental health's a real thing. And unfortunately, it has happened to a few Niner players. It's gotten in the way of things, and hopefully we can learn to handle these things better in the future, and not necessarily trade somebody away and give them away if they're going to be a Hall of Fame player. But let's go back to the all-time Niner defense. So,
all right.
And Kenny, we appreciate you. Says you're at work, bro. We have to watch replay. It's all good, man. It's all good. And let's finish up and talk about the cornerbacks. So you can throw in your 2 cornerbacks. You can even throw in a third guy as a nickel cornerback, or if you have a guy coming off the bench, go ahead and you can do whatever you want. But your favorite Niner all-time cornerbacks that you throw in.
I mean, I want to say Dion, but he was here so short, just half a season.
It was a one time. It was like a hit and quit.
It was a Super Bowl win, but I'll put him in honorable mention because of this.
Okay. He just won't be a starter.
I mean, I guess I'd probably go Eric Wright, since Ronnie came in with Eric as a corner, but then Ronnie Lott moved to be a safety, so I consider him more of a safety than a corner, since he was there for so long and just those bone-crunching hits that he delivered. So I'd say Eric Wright, and that's maybe Eric Davis. Is that right?
Really? You have Eric Davis? I mean, that's fine. You can have whoever you want in there.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not Dion, I mean, there's nobody in the 2000s. I mean, Sherm kind of a little bit. Nah. Especially since he was a former
Plummer?
Especially since he was a former Seahawk.
You're not going to put Ahmed Plummer?
No, Carlos Rogers, like, come on.
All these guys that we had for a long period of time, they had very short shelf lives. Yeah, you could say. It wasn't like it was a sustainable for like a long career.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with the Erics. Eric Wright.
Yeah, he was there for the long haul, man.
Eric
Wright. You go with Eric Davis? Okay.
And obviously Dion is the penultimate, but like he just was so brief. It was shooting star
within a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So we got
a prime.
What's that?
A blink of a prime.
There you go. Was he in the hospital or is he still in the hospital? Supposedly he was going to have his foot amputated or.
Or I knew his toes, a couple toes had already gone. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
Crazy.
Pros up for prime.
How about your safeties? Who do you got for safeties?
I mean, obviously, I already mentioned Ronnie Lott.
So you can have Ronnie Lott as a safety, the bone crushing hits.
Yeah.
He has the most interceptions in 49er history. So,
Yeah.
He could definitely cover as well. He could do both. And we were stupid enough to get rid of him in Plan B free agency. That was ridiculous.
And then, I mean, there's so many good safeties. But I got to go with Merton Hanks, the funky chicken. I got to go with those two. Even though I think they're both free safeties. I don't really have a strong.
It doesn't matter. Well, at one point when Ronnie Lott went to the Raiders, he played strong safety, and he could have easily played strong safety with the Niners.
Okay.
I mean, Ronnie Lott could have played any position in the secondary. That's how much of a stud he was.
That's true. Yeah, I'm going to go with those two as my number one, number two. And maybe as my honorable mention, I'm going to go Deshaun Goldson, who we just mentioned.
There you go. Okay. Deshaun Goldson. Okay. Maybe Dante Hittner.
Dante Hittner, yeah, but I like Goldson better.
Yeah, Goldson was the only time I didn't like Goldson, and I'm not going to put too much blame on him, but it was an NFC Championship game. And, it was against Shanahan when he was coaching the Falcons and Matt Ryan was tearing shit up, and Julio Jones was tearing shit up, and I'm not sure if it was on two occasions, but I know Goldson looked pretty bad at points in times in that playoff game.
It wasn't against Shanahan.
It was it the you know what? It was before. It was before.
Yeah, because Shanahan was 15 and 16.
Was 2016. Yep.
Yeah.
So they were still good without him, but they were even better when he was there.
We were down in Atlanta, and Cap led a comeback to get us to the Super Bowl.
That was one of Kaepernick's better games, in my opinion. That's a highly underrated game.
It's just the game before it in Green Bay at the frozen tundra in Lambeau, where it was kind of frozen like recently.
No, I think the game before it was the game I went to a Candlestick against Green Bay.
Was it Candlestick?
Where Kaepernick ran wild all over Green Bay?
Am I thinking 2011 Green Bay?
No, that was 2012. So the game you're talking about was the season after, where Kaepernick had the sleeves up. Yeah, that was the game after. So we beat the Packers, right, and then we lost the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game.
That was the frozen one where Cap just ran all over him. 2013.
Yeah. But the one where he put up the crazy rushing yards though was at the Stick. Yeah, I was there. Okay. That was one of the best. Wow. That was the best game I've ever been to. It's going to be hard. Hopefully in the future I can top that game some way or another. But for now, that's the best game I've ever been to.
Pride myself on a pretty steel trap memory, but you got me there, Bash. Nice.
Hey, you have an amazing memory when it comes to the Niners, and I try my best.
Visors off.
What's that?
I say hats off. I'm like, visors off. Good job.
Okay, there you go. I know you always wear that visor. I always say you look like an NFL head coach.
Somebody earlier was saying who wore it better, Ted or Sean Payton, and I said,
there you go. Yeah,
Sean Payton's better looking, but if all things equal, you got to give me the edge because mine's Niners and his was Saints. So,
well, who was that guy that played Sean? I always make fun of Sean. When it comes to Sean Payton, the first thing that comes to mind was Kevin James playing Sean Payton. And I was like, what casting director in Hollywood for Netflix? Like the last guy I think of is Kevin James when I look at Sean Payton. I don't know. I wonder if that bothered Sean Payton by any chance. Like if I was Sean Payton, I wouldn't want fucking Kevin James to play me. Not saying he's a bad guy or bad person, but the guy's like 3 times the size of fucking Sean Payton. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he's like my size. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Sean Payton was a former NFL nose tackle. Sure. I mean.
Not a QB from Eastern Illinois like Jimmy G.
Yeah, Eastern Illinois, just like Jimmy G. Yeah. Was Sean Payton ever in the NFL? I know he. Maybe he probably gave it a shot. What's that?
Not that I'm aware of as a player, but I don't know. Maybe as a backup or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a backup.
A lot of times the backups they get told the clipboard and they learn how to coach that way. So.
Oh, cool. So we got Jess from that's Jess right there, East Coast Red Gold Podcast. Says what's up. Been in talks with Jess. I'm gonna try to get her on the show one of these days. I didn't this week so far. It wasn't a good time for me to get any other guests on this channel, but definitely got to get her on here. She was on. Actually, I was collabing with her on Niner Sickness Podcast's channel when we were doing the live draft. So basically, she sat through the whole entire draft on every single day with Niner Sickness on his channel, and they were there for every hour of the draft.
And she's still working with him. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're doing a show together. And luckily they let me jump in and out of the streams. And I was there for every 49er pick, but I wasn't there for and the main reason why I couldn't really be there for the entire shows is it was just this chair that I sit in feels like a bag of rocks. Once I hit the hour mark or hour and a half mark in this chair, I feel like I'm sitting on a bag of rocks, and
I'm on a very uncomfortable stool, but that's just because otherwise I'm like down here in the frame without it. So
I tweeted about it yesterday. Actually, I was on Amazon yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, if anybody has any advice about good, dependable brands for gaming chairs, let me know. And if you're in the chat, let me know because I'm this close to buying one." And I was on Amazon yesterday, the day before that, just looking up deals on Amazon gaming chairs. And I noticed that some of the ones that, hey, $100 for a gaming chair, but some of them, I've read a few reviews, and somebody was like, well, hey, this chair says it has a 300-pound weight capacity, but I'm only 180 pounds, and I leaned back at it and it broke. I was like, okay, I'm scratching that one off the list. So I literally made a tweet about like, hey, if you know anything about gaming chairs, any good brands that you can suggest, let me know on my Twitter. Or, hey, whoever's in the chat, let me know because I'm this close to buying one, but I might wait till Amazon Prime Day and then do it when there's a better deal. But there's some really good deals in general if you're looking to get one.
186 pounds. I was like 1986 for me.
Yeah, that was around the same time, 87, 88 maybe. Yeah, so those are the good old days.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much covered a lot of things. Anything extra you want to talk about? If anybody has any questions in the chat, they think that we may have missed on something that you want us to cover or touch on really quick before we close out the show, we can do so. If there's anything that you want to bring up, Ted, but we touched a lot. We touched on a whole lot of things. Obviously, we talked about the quarterback thing, Albert Breer's and his Sam Darnold statements, the IC Ghost guy and Trey Lance, and we talked about Purdy for a little bit. Covered a lot of 49er defensive nostalgia. I think the 49ers have this, I don't say a stigma, but we're branded as like an offensive team, West Coast offense. Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig. You can go back to Ricky Waters and Frank Gore and all that, but I just think the defense of the 49ers throughout the years has done many amazing things, and they don't get enough credit for the great things they've done.
That's right. Fantasy football's ruined people's appreciation for blocking, for defense, special teams, all the stuff that doesn't have a lot of fantasy, value.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not a hater of fantasy football, but
no, me neither.
I
just don't love it. Somebody said,
"Go ahead."
Well, somebody tweeted on the time, and one of these people I know through one of my DM groups was saying, who doesn't love fantasy football? I'm like, me, I don't. And he's like,
I refuse to join the leagues. That's for sure.
And eventually, I was like, hey, I don't hate it. I just feel like it puts too much focus on offense. They don't, especially with Kittle. Kittle's the main one where I'm just like, Kittle's blocking just goes totally unnoticed in fantasy football.
Yeah, there's so many nuances in the NFL. So many things that are so extremely crucial and important and relevant to the NFL game that fantasy football totally disregards.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, who has the most yards? Who has the most touchdowns? And that's it. Like, dude, there's way more to football than that. That's how. And unfortunately, some people that grew up in the fantasy football era, it's kind of like all they know about football. So they'll just like argue the hell to the nail about quarterbacks, but it's a mindset. It's a fantasy football mindset.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to go about it when it comes to football. Like I said, there's nuances and there's so many other factors involved.
Ultimately, I said, it gets more eyes on games. And so that's always a good thing. Get more people watching. That's good for the sport. Even if they have,
there's money involved in the fantasy football stuff, those apps, and they charge money for certain things. And then you have like all those companies, I can't remember the names of them, but DraftKings and all other stuff.
Spider Niner was asking if we're going to training camp. I'm going to try. I think I'm going to be able to go to all veteran training camp. I have a buddy who has season tickets. I already reached out to him because season ticket holders get first priority. So I'm pretty sure he'll be able to get them for me. I don't think I'll be in town for all of rookie minicamp, which starts on the 18th of July, but 1 week later on the 25th, that's when the QBs arrive. The 25th of July, I should be there for most of that, it looks like, I mean, knock on wood, my wife's pregnant. She's due in September. So things could change. But as of right now, I'm pretty confident that I should be there for most of that training camp.
Did you buy a 49er onesie for the baby yet? Or are you guys going to buy one? Or?
We've got them from our first.
Okay.
Ford, yeah.
There you go. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. Who was it? Nick from Nothing But Niners. I had him on before and missed the guy. I got to talk to the guy. I got to reach out to him because it's been pretty quiet lately. But I remember when I had him on, I was talking about how he became a Niner fan. He's like, well, I was a newborn and I left the hospital in a 49er onesie. And that's all you need to know is mom and dad are Niner fans. And was born Niner fan.
I was a late bloomer at 6, I guess.
I was super late. 11 or 12. East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Jess says, yes, still collaborating with Beto. What's wrong with me? Haha, just kidding. We got you. But we know you're kidding. And Tivo says the baby needs a Niner onesie. Yeah, so it looks like he's already got one lined up for him.
And a Warriors one. Yeah.
Spider Niner says, awesome. So I can get some good takes and reliability and facts. I don't know if I'm going to any training camp, but if I am, I'll announce it. I'll let people know, hey, you want to run into me and say what's up to me or whatever, and we can talk and chit chat. Any Niner event, I do plan on attending in the future. I didn't mention the picnic, the barbecue that I went to in Sacramento, but in the future, if I do go to another meet and greet or any other function, I'll try to run it on here, let you guys know. And if people in the area and they want to meet up and hang out, sure, man, let's hang out and kick it. I have yet to meet you, so one of these days I got to meet you. Got to meet guys like Kelts and all the guys who are already in the Bay Area, or the guys who come from out of town from whatever functions, and we all got to try to meet up one day, man.
Yeah, Kelts is right in the middle.
True. He's not too far from me. Not too far from you either. Yeah. And just like Kelts says, there's so many layers. I love Kelts. I love when Kelts talks. There was something else I wanted to bring up. I can't remember. We've talked. Oh yeah, Kelts always says yee. I'm probably forgetting what I was going to talk about, but if there's anything else that the chat has going on that they want to bring up, or if you want to bring up really quick before we go, and
tomorrow 3 p.m. our usual time. I got Niner Nate's nonsense coming on, and that should do it for me. And then, like you were mentioning earlier, going to be out of town quite a bit next week, and I think the week after I may get some streams in here or there. Like I was telling you, I think backstage. I usually get more leeway for like regular shows like ours than just random shows, but I'm going to have my equipment with me just in case something works out randomly. So I may try and pop on, but it may be a couple weeks of certainly not streaming every day like I like to. So unfortunately.
I got you. JG, I know you told me about that, but I have some family stuff going on, so I wish I could say yes. Unless something totally changes, I'll let you know. But we do got to catch up and kick it. We definitely do. I've mentioned that to you before.
Sorry.
Whoa. You got something going on out where you live, huh? Wow. Spider Niners says, how much are the tickets? I believe training camp tickets are usually free. I'm not sure if they charge in the past. Maybe they charge about $5, I think, in the past, maybe, or $10 if they did charge. Remember, I think at one point they were actually selling training camp tickets, right?
The last thing I saw, well, it's interesting on this website. Like I looked on something on like Niner Nation or something like that, and they were saying that they were free. But then I saw David Lichty was saying that he was buying them because he's a season ticket holder. So it sounds like there is a slight cost involved.
Yeah, at one point they were charging. I do, man. At one point I do for a long time. I remember them being free. I know Spider Niner said something about it'd be cool if one of us went to get some insight from one of us.
Yeah.
Yes and no, because if I was there, because when you're there, you're kind of caught up in the social aspect of it. But at the same time, you are excited to see certain players and see what they can do. And don't get me wrong, I'm totally excited about those things. They are. I don't know how it is now, but I remember like if you had your little phone out, try to record, or if you remember one time I brought a video camera, like, oh, put that away. We don't want you guys filming. I remember they didn't want us filming things at points of times. And sometimes it would be a pain in the ass if you went, obviously, because so where you're sitting, it's like they have high school bleachers set up like you're at a high school football game and the field's right there. But then I don't know why they do this. And they even do it to the media when the media is attending practice. When the media is attending practice, they do this as well. So they have the field that's right in front of you, but then they also have other fields that are hella far away from where the bleachers are.
Yeah, it's like three fields.
Yeah. So they can work on things and do things and run scrimmages. But if they're running it on that field, unless you have eyes like an eagle or some amazing binoculars, you're not really going to catch much or going to be able to report on much if you're doing a live stream that night. You can be like, oh, yeah, I saw so-and-so was a speck on the field and he made a great tackle,
Yeah, no, that's tough. And the socializing is huge because I haven't met most of the 49ers content creators in person yet. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, but yeah, I'll do my best to report back. I will be objective. If Lance is doing well, you'll know it. If Purdy is practicing, I'll let you know. If Darnold's doing well, I'll let you know. And even if it's Brandon Allen, I will let you know. So.
And I just checked my notifications on my YouTube. As of 38 minutes ago, I got a brand new subscriber, Daniel Jenna, if I'm saying that right. So welcome to the family. If you're not subscribed already, hit this like and subscribe button. Hit the bell notification. I'm really, really, really close to 1,000 subscribers. Eventually I'll get there. Also subscribe to TED Talks Ball. If you're not watching on there, go jump on there. Give him a like and subscribe as well. Running this on 2 channels. I don't have much else planned out for the week. This week on YouTube. If I do have a guest that I happen to book last minute, I'll let you guys know. I usually advertise it on my Twitter. I advertise it on my also you can also check out my over here on Facebook. Facebook on my YouTube community tab. Go ahead to the YouTube community page. I'll post like, hey, I'm bringing this guest on tomorrow at 4:00 or 5:00. So either I'll post it both there on Twitter. You can also follow me on Instagram and the 49er Minded Facebook page. So multiple ways to follow me. The best way to contact me is on Twitter. If you have any questions or any ideas about the show, I'm all ears. Let me know. And thank you, John V. Appreciate you from the Locker Room Rant. Check out his YouTube channel. Subscribe to his channel. One of my favorite channels. And Steve O's Custom said I wouldn't trade Bosa for nothing. That's a bad move. Because JG638 says Niner Nate isn't that the dude who wanted to trade away Bosa for Lamar Jackson. Yeah, a lot of people see Bosa as untradeable, as untouchable. I'm one of those guys. But you know, it is what it is. People love certain players more so than others, and different people have different perspectives. And
I can make things spicy, so come weigh in.
And thank you, John V. Appreciate you. But that about is gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching Ballin with Bash and Ted on the 49er Minded channel over here on 49er Minded, where we get into the minds of 49er fans. Keep repping those 49ers and stay 49er minded. Peace. Let's go. Ballin with Bash and Ted. Yeah.
Go night.
Come on, 49er faithful, let's get it.
Because it's 49er mind.
We gotta do this one time for the Empire.
It's 49er mind. It's 49er mind.
We gotta get that brick by brick done quick.
49er mind.
Yeah. Yo, we can't listen to them haters, man.
49er mind.
We from the Bay.
49er mind.
We them San Francisco 49ers.
49er mind.
We got that red and gold blood inside us.
49er mind.